I welcome you to our Integrative Theology. This is Lecture 1, Part 3, and this is the second of the supplemental lectures that belong to this. So let's dive right in. Today I want to talk about formation of an illustrative theological system. When you are forming any system, and again, I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Let's dive right in. When you are forming a system of theology, whether it's integrative theology, theology proper, historical theology, whatever, there must be a formation of an illustration in the mind. In other words, you must have a minciological image of what this theology is, where this theology is taking you, what is the purpose and what is the objective. And so it's very important then that the mind has to come to a point of clarity. The mind has to come to a point systemically where we see and where we understand what we're trying to get the mind to do. How are we trying to get the mind to expand itself to either open up to new knowledge? And by new knowledge, I'm talking about knowledge that we may not have understood or been exposed to, and so it is new to us. And so the guideline is to bring us to a point where we see ourselves receiving that which takes us beyond the point of clarity that we now focus, that takes us beyond what we know right now, that moves us into a venue where we become much more extended and expanded in what we know about the Bible, about God, and man's purpose within scriptural reality. And so the formation of an illustrative theology then is bringing the pieces together, bringing them to a point of clarity where we can now see how they benefit us, see how they will extend knowledge, see what type of knowledge can be extended or expanded upon, how we can utilize this knowledge, and see how it can cause us to become more productive. And so it's important then, through the illustration of theology, that we can give examples, we can give principles, and we can give the concepts that bring us to a higher level of development, a higher level of maturity, a higher level of understanding, and a higher level of relational qualities, relational activities with God and with one another. It is extremely important that as you begin to see, remember, seeing is not always with the eyes. Sometimes sight is with the eyes of the mind, where it brings clarity, understanding, knowledge that causes us to change. And so you must then, with an illustrative system of theology, come to a point where you see how this theology is impacting you, how this theology is causing you to see reality, how this theology is causing you to see your commitment with God, your commitment to the church, and your commitment to the kingdom. It brings the sight of understanding that now produces a psychological perspective of the mind and how the mind should be linked to the spirit to perform in a greater dimensional capacity. What I mean by perform in a greater mental capacity, see, there are dimensions to learning. There are dimensions of cognition. There is what we call intellectual cognition, how you can analyze for the purpose of learning and incorporate this learning into shifting changes of life and thought. There is what we call emotional illustrative learning, or dimensions of learning in the emotions. There are dimensions of learning in the will. How do you utilize your emotions? Why do your emotions respond the way they are? How do you control them? Should you control them? And how can you utilize them to cause you to gain or experience or gain a greater level of proficiency? How do you utilize intelligence of the will to make better choices? When should you choose? When should you refrain from making a decision? And so the illustrative theological mode or method causes you to see you becoming theology incarnate. Your studies should equip the mind for change. Your studies should equip your mind for an adaptation of a reality of behavior that now aligns you closer to your God. It now aligns you closer to the kingdom, to the functionality of the kingdom, and to your respect and your understanding of the kingdom. This is all the time we have for today. I thank you for joining me. Again, this is our first class in integrative theology called the Introduction of Theology. And this is Lecture 1, Part 3, the supplemental lecture, the second supplemental lecture. I am your host, Bishop Dr. Derek A. Reeves. Until next time, God bless you and keep you.